Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our Half Acre Homestead, and today we're canning it to save it. Split pea soup. Now, if you want to follow making split pea soup from scratch and canning it, go over to Rose Red Homestead. She does it from scratch. What I have here is a half-gallon jar of when I made my last pickled cottage roll. There is cottage roll in the bottom. There is some onions, some chopped cooked cabbage, and all the broth. This is a half-gallon jar. Most of it's liquid. We have 2 cups, to be safe, we have 2 cups of water and 1 cup of split peas and 3 onions that we're going to dice. Let's get this started. All right, first things first is we're going to take, now if you see this, this has been capped off by the fat from the cottage roll. And we're just going to poke that and dump that all in there. We're going to turn it on to medium, and we're going to add the 2 cups of water, and we're going to get it up to heat before we add the peas. Now, they say not to can split pea soup. Why? Because it's kind of like the pumpkin issue. It's a viscosity issue. But I'm erring on the side of more liquid than anything else, so that this doesn't get thick when I can it. After you've canned it and you go to open it up to use it, if it's too thin, add a handful of yellow peas and heat it up. All right? We're going to err on the side of less peas so that we don't have too much thickness. Okay, now that this is heating up, this is basically ham. Now, if you were going to do this from scratch, you would follow Rose Red Homestead's recipe. You'd use leftover diced ham and broth. But this is the broth that this cottage roll was cooked in. Now, I'm going to add this cup of peas. And I'm going to slow cook this for a couple of hours. Why? Because if the peas get too thick, then we're going to want to add more water. Okay? Okay, so here's our pea soup, and the peas are getting soft, and as you can tell, there's still lots of liquid. This is why we do it this way, so that we don't have a viscosity issue with the soup. Here's my canner, heating up with the recommended amount of water in the bottom and a splash of white vinegar to stop my jars from clouding. Here's our rings, our funnel, our lids, washed, rinsed, and in hot water, and our jars. Here is our clean damp paper towel dampened with vinegar and water. I haven't got my jar. I've used up my jar and I haven't replaced it yet. So let's get canning. Now our soup is hot and it's going into clean, washed and rinsed jars. And we're going to stir it. We're going to stir it as we do it, as we fill it, to make sure we have plenty of meat, onion, there's cabbage in there. Again, this is the water my cottage roll was boiled in, some of the leftover onions, a wedge of leftover cabbage, and the ham, all chopped in and put in here with a pint of extra water and a cup of split yellow peas. To 1 inch from the top, always, always. Now this is really liquid, no need to debubble. On goes our 4 jars canning lid, and on to fingertip tight. Well, I'm only going to get a couple of jars out of this, but a couple is better than none. Okay, I have 2 quarts and 3/4 of a quart, and I'm going to put the lid on these. It may seem like a lot of energy, but I tell you what, that's going to be real good eating in the winter. We're going to put our lid on. As soon as that spouts a steady stream of steam, and this pops up, we're gonna vent our canner for 10 minutes and we're gonna put our weight on. Always vent the canner for 10 minutes. If you don't vent the canner, it doesn't push the air out. And if you don't push the air out, you don't get a proper vacuum seal. Okay? Okay, this, don't look at the steam coming out of my oven. I'm roasting tomatoes. This has been spouting a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. We are now going to put our 10-pound weight on, and we're going to process this as if it was meat. So it's going to be 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts. So as soon as we get our first vigorous jiggle, oh, sorry, I forgot to turn my timer off. As soon as we get our first vigorous jiggle, we are going to start timing these for 90 minutes. We'll turn our canner down a little bit because I'm on an electric stove. I'll turn it down between medium and maximum, and then we will time it for 90 minutes. I gotta get my tomatoes out of the oven and put my spaghetti squash in. And there's our first vigorous jiggle. Now I'm gonna turn it down to between medium and maximum. That's how my stove works. And we're just gonna process this and set the timer for 90 minutes. Okay, our timer has gone off. So we're gonna turn off our canner and we're gonna let this cool down naturally. We're going to let this cool down naturally. Remember, letting your canner cool before opening it is for safety, and it's also a part of the canning process. So please, just let it cool down naturally. Here are our jars of ham and split pea soup. Doesn't look like much, but that is solid winter comfort food. All we have to do is drop some of that into a crock pot, throw in a handful of split peas, and you got supper. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying, got leftovers? There's some things you can to save it. Take care, God bless. Remember, folks, if you're a home canner and you're not trying 4 Jars canning lids, you are missing out. These are heavier than any other disposable lid on the market. They are a U.S. company, and if you order over $100, your shipping is free. Check in the description box below this video for a link to 4 Jars canning lids and use the coupon code HALFACRE, all one word in capital letters, for 10% off. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok for ideas and recipes. 4 Jars canning lids, you can't go wrong.